We'll take up House Bill 130 first. All right, so 130 has an amendment that even though the bill says it's going to repeal this commission altogether, this amendment is to address the problem that Jelcar feels that exists in the current statute. And that is the funding mechanism and the penalties are inappropriate for a commission. And so this amendment basically addresses just that issue. It doesn't repeal it. It doesn't change anything other than its funding mechanism. I guess the one thing that did come up, and I just want to make it clear to everyone, this bill is way past going to a second committee. So any action that we take, if it does pass the House, and I'm hoping we'll all agree on this and get it on the consent calendar, that it will then go over to the Senate and the Senate Commerce Committee, which Donna Soucy sits on, who is the sponsor of the original commission, that she can work on it and fix it. And if she wants to do something different, a different funding mechanism, obviously that's open for discussion. But at least this addresses the fact that the governor has it in House Bill 1, but he doesn't have it, there's nothing in House Bill 2 to have a funding mechanism. So one way or the other, this language has to be approved if we hope any money is going to go to that commission this year. And with that, I'll take questions from the committee. Yes.
Thank you. I just want to make clear that the Jalkar, I don't know how to pronounce it,
Jelcar, yeah.
did not say that this was unconstitutional. They said they had no authority. They said it should be looked at further. Though they did say that they had questions, but they did not say that it couldn't. They thought it should move forward and have some more work done on it.
Right. They were recommending legislative action. And we're the Legislative Policy Committee to do that.
Just question, this doesn't in any way negate the last amendment, does it? We still have that last amendment hanging out there
On 130,
on 130, yeah.
what's the last
That's
amendment?
the whole funding thing.
This amendment's been around for a while, hasn't it? Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's called
the original
748.
130 was to repeal the whole law.
No, then there was an amendment, 748. I can't tell that, I don't have a name on it.
Isn't that the one you're talking about?
No, you're talking
Okay,
about,
so this would negate any other amendment. This would be the only amendment.
oh, well, then I want to know what happened. to
This
one.
is 748H. Are you looking at 748H?
Yes,
Yes, that's what we're discussing.
then what's?
You're looking at the original bill,
it's-
which was to
I'm
repeal
sorry,
everything.
see, this is how short it was.
Yeah, repeal could be very short.
Sorry.
No problem.
Was that merchants or was that?
So she's looking at my amendment, yeah. Sure.
Should we go back to looking at Representative Merchant's amendment, which is what the board would like to do if we don't retain?
Did he have an amendment on this? Yeah, did you have anybody in their file have another amendment? I think he just came in and told us to kill the bill because he didn't want to get rid of, I mean, I remember the hearing was mostly about not getting rid of the commission. That's what I remember.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so who's on the insurance committee?
Terry Post, Kelly, Frank, Labro, Vincent, Sullivan, and Burrows.
Okay.
Representative Filio, do you have anything you can shed light on here? And don't say no.
I'm not on the subcommittee, so
I know, but you can still
Yeah,
talk.
so actually, let me rephrase my conversation. Okay. I can see how this is potentially a partisan issue in terms of this bill. And so therefore, what I would guess what I'm looking for is, if the Democrats were unified to say they're opposed to doing anything and just to retain it, then that would be a 10-10 vote in this committee, and that would force it to be retained. So I was making a case for, because you all know I love to retain bills. I like to keep bills in committee, but that I thought that given what happened with Gelcar, and I was more than willing to retain it, but given what happened in Gelcar, I thought it was worthwhile to go forward with this so that at least we have addressed the legislative issue and then let the Senate decide what they want to do with it.
From the policy point of view, of course, I would like to keep the commission. From the state constitutional point of view, I don't know. And you don't hear me say I don't know that often, but I don't know. But from the policy point of view, of course, I would like to keep the commission.
Carrie, do you have any questions? You can,
And I want to know your opinion. Kind of want to know your
you're
opinion.
talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would like us to retain it. That is what the board would like us to do. They think it's the best option. Their second choice, I guess there wasn't, there was confusion. I guess they thought Gary Merchant had as an amendment. And their third choice would be, they don't think that the general fund is going to be the way to go. So their first choice is to retain, and I frankly would like to take their lead on that and go with that. And if people, are confused, we can take 5 minutes as a caucus to talk. But I'd like to see us retain.
So who said you agreed? You think you would rather just, you do realize it means the commission won't, theoretically might not do anything for a year?
So you want us to support the amendment?
Yes.
The bill states repealing the Drug Affordability
Yeah,
Board?
it would change the title. If we were to pass this amendment, that would change that title.
Okay, so if we vote to ought to pass, which is what you want us,
Ought to pass as amended. Right.
then we're not
Repealing
repealing the drug
the
affordability.
repeal language will disappear forever. Ever. That's my commitment to you.
Okay,
Okay, my commitment to you, personal commitment. Okay, as much as I'm not very excited about this affordability board, that by passing this amendment, I'm saying to you is that any conversation about repealing it will not be in this committee. This committee will not talk about repealing it. It will be gone. That's not the issue to us. The issue to us was we never got to see it when it originally got passed. Okay, because it was in the budget, and it came over from the Senate side, so it never really it never came to our committee and said whether we thought this funding mechanism was an appropriate mechanism. Okay, and I'm saying no, it's not. It's not appropriate. But I'm not ready to repeal the whole thing just because the funding mechanism doesn't work. I'm doing what I think is the responsible thing to do is fix the funding mechanism. Now you can argue, well, that this thing's not going to see the light of day, but I would argue I will guarantee you, what I know about the Senate is that the Senate is committed to this affordability board, and the Senate when the budget comes back, the Senate will have the money. Now, whether in the committee of conference, the Senate is willing to go to the carpet over this versus what other issues may be differential between the House and the Senate, that who knows? Nobody's got that crystal ball. But I would say to you that by doing this, you now ended any discussion on the House side about repealing it, and what you're doing instead is creating a funding mechanism that Gelcar would approve, and keeping this issue alive, because when it leaves here, it's going to the Senate.
But how do we know it's going to pass the Senate when Donna Susie didn't know anything about it? I mean, I understand that they don't have the majority, but
I'm pretty sure Donna Susie is not paying attention to all the bills that are on the House side.
I take,
You think she does?
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
think she
Well, I
pays-
mean,
I think she pays great
I would,
attention
you
to
know,
it.
me being frank, I'm surprised that Tom Sherman did not tell her this issue was on the House side. That we had two of these bills. I'm shocked. I mean, he's a former senator. He knows full well how important this issue was to Donna. Did she tell you it was important to her? This committee when you talked to her?
Tom Sherman.
Oh, you never talked to her. Okay, so you're getting her surprise secondhand. Okay,
Excuse me, I trust what Tom Sherman says to me.
I have no doubt.
He's an
you
honorable
do.
man, and I
Yes, he
trust
is.
whenever he tells me something like
that
that.
she was shocked. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Representative Gibbs.
Thank you. Just for clarity, this bill is not going to the Finance Committee?
That is for sure. It would, the only time the Finance Committee will ever see this issue is that if the Senate were to amend it and come back, and again, it would come back to us, it wouldn't go back to Finance. My assumption is by our passing this, that the Senate will make sure this is in their budget when they send the budget back, and that would go to Finance. That is my assumption.
Again, my assumption would be if they send it back to finance, that it'll be taken out.
Okay, but that would be in the committee of conference. And if for it to be taken out, that means the Senate got something else that they care about.
If anyone doesn't in our caucus doesn't have any more questions, I'd like to meet in the hall for a
Okay,
minute.
what we can do, we don't have to do that.
Okay.
You guys go ahead and caucus,
Yep.
and we'll make that decision when we have the full committee.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
All right.
And that'll be similar to the next one. Okay. So the next one
We're
is,
not gonna have a vote in a
we don't need a subcommittee. The subcommittee, we know, we get it, you know.
All right. Okay. I mean, it makes sense to me. That's reality. Well, you're on camera. No, no, you don't need.
All right, the next one is what's the bill number? 513. Okay, so my understanding is there's two pieces here, the salient items in this bill. There is the RSA, the 420B 27, Roman numeral 2B. The reimbursement is equal to the payment which would have otherwise been made to the payer's preferred pharmacy provider. Isn't that ironic? Okay, so obviously to me that is a very important sentence, given that what we heard in the public hearing was that sometimes these cancer treatments and infusions are overbilled, and because they're billed under the medical rather than the pharmaceutical. So to me, that's the most important part of this bill. The third, Roman numeral 3, where a patient may opt to do this bagging, brown, white, or whatever bag you want to call it, that my understanding is this is actually a current policy, you know, that this happens now. So we don't really need to pass that. So if that's offensive to people, we can take it out and just go forward with the bill without Roman numeral 3.
I just want to tell you why I think should be taken out, which is that right now, and Karen, and we have another nurse here too, can tell me whether I'm all wet. Right now, right now the opt-in thing is usually on a piece of paper in small print that only Carrie would read.
Because we know she reads the manual.
Right, and she's
The smaller the print, the more suspicious she is.
But that's what patients get, and they don't know, aren't aware that if they opt into this, that they're going to have a cheaper way of paying, and that's to the hospital's advantage. And it seems like the way to do it would be to have the default be to have it go to the patient and then tell them, oh, by the way, you can also get it here, but here's the cost differential. That's my take on that paragraph.
It's an interesting concept to turn from an opt-in to opt-out, or something. But yeah, okay. No, I truly believe, I agree with you that the process that's happening now in terms of what's the roles the hospital play is correct. It's the right way to, and it's really safe and sound. And the idea that you're getting it delivered and having it, that seems a little tacky to me. I don't.
They haven't had problems with it.
Yeah, well, so exactly, it is there. So, like I would say, is if it is already occurring, even if we don't pass that, it can still occur because it's already something that's happening. So all we're doing is putting in statute with something that's already happening. So I agree with you. Let's just take it out. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get something that we all can agree on. Because you know how much I love everything on the consent calendar, which so far is everything we have so far. Yes, Representative Gibbs.
Thank you. This is actually a question for Representative Burrows. I understand clearly your point about the savings and expense. But my question is about what we heard during the hearing about the concerns about safety in terms of having the medication sent to the patients and then carried by the patients to the hospital or wherever.
I guess I interpreted things differently. I don't know if I talked to somebody from the New Hampshire Hospital Association. Is anyone from there today?
Yeah, there
Who's-
is somebody.
Both of them are here.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not sure they would agree with you that it's dangerous. And I mean, they can tell me whether I'm all wet, but that's
Anita,
my.
what we did here was that the service that delivers the medication to the patient is often the same service that delivers it to the hospital.
Exactly.
And so, and people have been receiving their insulin forever in the, however they get their insulin. They weren't able to give us numbers that were like below 99.5
Yeah.
or something.
Insulin themselves, they don't have to carry it to the hospital.
They usually give it to them in a packaging that can get it to the hospital. Because remember, the hospitals get it the same way.
No, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, maybe I misunderstood. But what I heard earlier testimony from, and I'm not sure whether it was the hospital association, but it was healthcare providers, as they were concerned about the safety of the two-step process because of the extra length of time in terms of getting the medication to the person who would administer it, which is different from insulin because
Right.
when insulin goes to the patient injects it and it's done.
I think that's only if the Good Humor Man delivers it. But I'm sorry, I'm jumping around.
It's refrigerated.
Yeah, it is refrigerated. Does the New Hampshire
Well,
Hospital
but-
Association?
But
Here's
what I heard was it goes to the patient and then the patient takes the time to deliver it to the hospital.
Yep.
So
That's-
is
that's
it
the difference between the
refrigerated
brown bagging
during
and white
that-
bagging.
During that step. That's the question I
that one is really, yes, we would most of us would be very concerned if it was being delivered to the patient at their home and then they were responsible to bring it in. Yes, we all agree that is a little scary.
Well, I think that's
Okay.
the possibility here. Isn't
So
it?
my understanding, and I can't tell you, we can certainly open it up. The whole reason this concept exists in the first place is going back to the problem of what we want to fix in B, which is that the patient finds out, for some reason, the patient's got some skin in the game when it came to that medical billing and saw the outrageous price. And they said, how do I get out of that? Well, they say is, well, if we deliver it to you and you bring it in, then you'll make sure that will be paid under the pharmacy provision of their health insurance rather than the medical, which was doing the overcharging in the first place. So that I'm saying is if we pass this, then I don't think there will be anybody who will bother doing, this Roman numeral 3 anymore because we've taken care of why they would do it in the first place, which was to lower the costs for the drug.
Would you mind if we asked the hospital association their take on this?
Not a problem.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Kathy Bizarro Thunberg, Executive Vice
Can't
President, New Hampshire
can't hear
Hospital
you.
Association. Kathy Bizarro Thunberg from the Hospital Association.
And Paula Minahan, Senior Vice President, State Government Relations for the Hospital Association. Good morning.
So just to clarify what was being asked about brown bagging and white bagging. So just again to set the stage. So brown bagging is the insurance company's policy that requires a patient to receive their medication at home, and they have to bring it to a hospital or a provider for that hospital or provider to administer it to them. The problem with the brown bagging is that if the patient receives it either late or the medication is wrong or it's not stored properly, that's the patient safety concern that we have with brown bagging. With white bagging, the medication on behalf of a particular patient gets sent to the hospital or a healthcare provider, but it doesn't come through the normal chain of drug shipments. It gets sent to a shipping department. It may get sent to another department, especially if there's no special tag on it, or it may have a patient name and they don't know who the doctor is. So sometimes it also gets lost, temperature not maintained, and so forth. So that is why we have special concerns about both brown bagging and white bagging. There are certain circumstances where white bagging does make sense depending on the particular patient and the circumstance with that provider. But really what the concern that we have with this bill is the funding mechanism that you've pointed out, Mr. Chairman. So the concern here, and I know that the sponsor actually said this, but we're not sure that it's actually written correctly in this amendment, is that he hopes that this whole process for brown bagging gets put to a pharmacy benefit instead of a medical benefit. And as I mentioned to this committee last week, we are concerned with a pharmacy benefit that the patient is going to have more out-of-pocket costs because typically pharmacy benefits have higher deductibles and higher copays, regardless of charges. So I also want to clarify with charges. Hospitals, providers, insurance companies have contracts. Regardless of what is charged, the reimbursement is what is under contract. That's not what they get paid. So let's be clear. The payments are negotiated between the provider and the insurance company, and the patient also benefits from that negotiated rate.
So sounds like you agree with this removed paragraph, this Roman numeral 3, and that B again only reaffirms what you think is already happening.
I don't understand what B means, to be honest. I think this bill is not written very carefully. It is not clear that this is truly going to a pharmacy benefit. I know what the sponsor said, but the way it's written is extremely unclear. We just don't think this bill is ready for prime time, and we think that this bill should be ITL'd.
Right. Well, I obviously need to say I disagree. I know exactly what the bill is saying when it says the payer's preferred pharmacy provider. That's directly referral to what's on my little health insurance card. And that is that negotiated rate between the insurer and the provider. So theoretically, we're just reiterating what should already be true.
So, Representative, where are you again? What line?
Well, if you're looking at numbers, but I always, 22, excuse me, 20, but that's why I always do RSAs, because sometimes people print them out, but yes, 20. 120.
So there's the reimbursement and then there's the benefit. And that's where I think it is confusing. I find this very confusing. And as you know, we discussed
Do you
this.
have a better way to say it?
The implications, the unintended consequences, potential the potential impact, negative impact, not only to the patient but also to the provider, are significant. This is confusing, and I, again, as Kathy indicated, we do not believe this bill is written in a way that we can certainly understand it. I've been doing this for a long time, and Kathy even longer. So I'm struggling with this as well. I don't know if this means I think this is rate setting. And you and I have talked about this. This is rate setting because you're setting a rate that is outside the contracts between the carriers and the providers, because it is setting a rate that is the hospital, at least in the hospitals, they don't negotiate a pharmacy benefit per se unless you own a specialty pharmacy. So it is all falls under the medical benefit. And again, as Kathy indicated, this is a private negotiation between a carrier and in our members' case, hospitals. So I'm struggling. I really am, with how this would be administered, but I think it's rate setting because you're defaulting to a rate that falls under the pharmacy benefit that is set, I guess, between the PBM and the insurer that they may actually own the PBM. So that's the rate that the hospitals would be required under this to default to. That's rate setting. That's
Well-
the legislature would be setting the rates by doing that in the way we read it. So I think there are a lot of potential unintended consequences.
Okay.
And we can't.
So,
we don't
Representative Burrows?
I just want to thank you for saying it was confusing because I had a headache after reading it 20 times and I thought that I just simply wasn't that bright, which doesn't mean that isn't true, but I couldn't figure it out.
that I find it very confusing, and you are very bright. So yeah, I struggle with this language. I do.
I guess. Yeah, so we have a replacement here who's a
Yes,
nurse.
hi.
Yeah.
I'm Representative Lanza from Goffstown, District 29, and I'm a nurse, and I've been a nurse for many years. I do find this very confusing, this bill, and the big thing is what you're saying exactly about the brown bagging or white bagging. I think it has a lot of safety concerns for the patient. I think basically, as we know that the mail delivery sometimes can be late, you could have it placed somewhere. Say if you did the white bagging, it could be placed somewhere and then it's not brought up to the floor or brought to where it needs to be, and that's a big problem. And also, I think also in regards to this reimbursement and everything like that, I think is also very confusing. I don't feel that this bill is ready for prime time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So the last thing when we talked about this, we had tasked the insurance department with coming up, because the question was posed by the medical society that this was confusing, or also whether that the consumers would be harmed, the patients would be harmed based upon co-pays and deductibles, I think is what it was, the question that was posed. So is the department prepared to tell us what they think about that problem? And I guess add into it, is this sentence confusing for you, or do you know how you would be able to enforce this, and do you consider it rate setting? Thank you. Right, requested. Okay, so Alex, why don't you tell everybody who you are?
I'm Alex Feldwebel.
Yeah, just talk to the mic because we have one person who has.
Oh yeah, I'm Alex Feldwebel from the insurance. I'm an examiner from the insurance department, and we were asked to take a look at the amendment and effectively do the work of producing a fiscal note for that amendment. And as pointed out in the memo that you have, there are basically three methods of delivering specialty drugs. The first one is the buy and bill method, which is associated with the highest costs, and health carriers, in an effort to control those high costs, have developed relationships with specialty pharmacies. And as you now, I think, understand, there are two ways that those clinician-administered drugs get delivered by specialty pharmacies, either directly to the clinic, called white bagging, or through the patient, called brown bagging. The most expensive, again, method is buy and bill. And what Section 2 of this bill would do is basically require the health carrier to reimburse in the buy and bill method. So that's the coverage requirement. If you look at that line 15, it says an HMO shall not refuse to authorize, approve, or pay for clinician-administered drugs given certain conditions. So it's a coverage requirement on the health carrier. So that's the benefit part of it. And then as a condition for that coverage requirement, you have that, most importantly, you have Section B, which requires that the reimbursement be equal to the what the reimbursement would have been for a white bagging arrangement. So it's sort of a compromise in the sense that it requires the carriers to cover buy and bill, but at the same time, it provides that that method won't be more expensive than the current option of white bagging. So given that that's what the bill does, our analysis is that it would lead to a lowering of claims costs, and therefore would lead to lower premiums.
Okay, any questions from committee members? Representative Gibbs.
Thank you. Would your analysis of lower premiums apply both to the original bill and to the amendment that was submitted by Chairman Hunt?
The department, Chris Nicolopoulos, Commissioner of the Hampshire.
Sorry, can't
Yeah,
hear
you
you.
got to put, yeah.
Chris Nicolopoulos, the Commissioner of Insurance Department. The department had some concerns with the language of the original bill, and we worked with the sponsor and other interested people to flesh all that out. And so our fiscal analysis was not on the original bill, which we would have different testimony for, but is on the language of the bill here. And I don't think it would be impacted by, I know there was some conversation about whether or not we take out, is it paragraph C, the final paragraph. I don't think, Roman
Roman
III,
numeral
apology.
3.
I don't think our analysis would be changed about whether or not that came out or not.
Representative Spear.
Do hospitals have access to the information? That is to say, and the bill is confusing. Without all the explanation, I wouldn't have gotten this. The reimbursement is equal to the payment which would have otherwise been made to the payer's preferred pharmacy provider.
Correct.
So do the hospitals know what that is? What that payment to the
They are
preferred
claiming
provider?
that it's confusing.
Oh,
That's
So
right.
that-
Like,
I
got that
take
right?
that to
You're
mean they
claiming
don't
that
know what it
sentence is
is.
confusing. Right. They feel a little fuzzy about what that sentence means.
And I think
No.
it's,
I don't mean what it is. I mean the amount of money.
Oh, the amount of money.
Yes. So if I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to have I'm going to provide the drug, but I can only charge so much amount of money. Do they even know what that is?
Representative Spear, they'd have to provide that information. They wouldn't know it today because this isn't the law today. And I think in large part, this is a solution to a very small part of the specialty pharmacy solution. I think what the number one solution is for providers that are providing these specialty drugs and the carriers to enter into contracts, just like they do with everything else.
Exactly.
And I've seen, I've been commissioner now for 3 years, and I've watched a number of these negotiations happen, and that is by far the most effective way where they can balance all of the interest of all of the parties. And in those cases, they agree to some kind of contractual fee schedule between the two of them. One of the wild cards there, and for those folks that don't agree to that, kind of carrot and stick, you need a mechanism for how you're going to deal with it. And one of those mechanisms is brown bagging and white bagging. Then what we hear is, well, for some of this specialty cancer treatment, we don't know what the concoction is, or we don't know the volume until that morning. We heard that over this last year. And so this bill deals with that one, kind of the last minute, we need to change the dosage, we need to change the volume. Here we go, guys. We're going to it's not on the fee schedule, or you opted not to have a contracted fee schedule. Here's the solution. You can provide it. Patient number one, that's our goal for everyone. And here's the reimbursement amount. I think this is I've testified now the second time on this bill. I think this is a wonderful solution to the problems that have been outlined as it relates to brown bagging and white bagging, but ultimately continues to provide the incentive for the providers and the carriers to negotiate all of this. And I think if we pass this, we're going to continue to do that.
Representative Gibbs.
Thank you. Would you believe that not when a medical procedure is performed, neither the doctors nor the nurses nor the technicians ever know what the actual cost to the patient is going to be? And I know this because I almost always ask, and they almost always say, the billing department will tell you when they've talked to the insurance company and figured it out. They
Rep.
never
Gibbs,
know
I
at
would
the
believe.
time.
I agree.
He very much agrees. Okay. Any other questions to the committee members? Okay. Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry.
I would
Calabro.
contest that some providers know not only the costs, but exactly what conditions those particular medications need to be kept under in order for them to be able to be administered safely.
The
You know how to
conditions they have
handle
to
it
be kept
properly.
under.
We know the costs.
Yes, and I believe you, but I have never run into one in my entire life. Literally never. I wish I had.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
This is the same situation. You guys go ahead and caucus and see where you guys are with this. I would say that, us Republicans uniformly, we want to pass both these bills. And so you just, if you want me to take this paragraph out, I just need to know sooner. Yeah, I just need to know sooner or later to, figure out what to do. Sure. Great. Go ahead. Perfect. And we Republicans will caucus too.
everybody.
Okay, we will open up the exec session. And what we'll do is we'll take up the two bills. The first one, House Bill 130, and Representative Burrows, seconded by Representative Hunt, moves to retain. Representative Burrows is recognized to speak to her motion.
Okay. We would like to retain HB 130 to enable the Pharmacy Advisory Board to look for other options for funding and to not disband the work that they've been doing.
Disband the work they're doing?
Disband.
Yeah, no, obviously, nobody was talking about disbanding, was we?
Okay, well, I just added that.
Okay. So, the motion is to retain. Is there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, I will urge everyone to vote to retain. And the clerk would call the roll.
Representative Ammon,
Yes.
Osborne, Petusic. Oh, he's not here.
He's
Okay.
out.
Terry. Oh, no. Yeah, he's,
Well, it's all right. We don't need him. It's all right. We're retaining.
okay. Cole. Percelli.
Yes.
Thaxton. Walsh.
Yes.
Burrows.
Yes.
Herbert. Clerk, yes. Lanza.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Calabro.
Yes.
Filio.
Yes.
Gibbs.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Siebert.
Yes.
And Representative Hunt.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 17.
Okay.
17 to 0?
All right. Next is, I should know the bills by number by now.
513.
513. Representative Burrows, second by Representative Hunt, moves to retain. Representative Burrows is recognized to speak to her motion.
Thank you. Yes, we would like to retain HB 513. We'd like the opportunity to make the language of the bill clearer and more understandable. And we recognize the benefits of both brown bagging and white bagging, and we're hoping to keep costs down for the consumer.
Okay. Evidently not the cost of premium. Okay. All right. Any other discussion on the motion to retain? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
All right. Representative Ammon.
Yes.
Osborne. Is he back? No. Cole.
Yes.
Percelli.
Yes.
Thaxton.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Burrows.
Yes.
Herbert.
Yes.
Clerk, yes. Lanza.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Calabro. Filio.
Yes.
Gibbs.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Siebert. And Chairman Hunt.
Yes.
17.
Okay.
Lisa Post is here.
All right. One more action, and
Lisa.
that is
Lisa is here.
Lisa Post.
Oh, okay. Post.
Okay. So the vote was
18 to 0.
18-0. Okay. The last action is House Bill 584. There has some new information has come available, and so we would like to reconsider our action where we passed it almost unanimously. I think there was one person who voted against it. And well, you would like this part, but so anyway, so the motion is to reconsider our action on House Bill 584. The motion being made by Representative Ammon, second by Representative Hunt.
I think I need to get.
I don't think you really would have a. So
I
this is
have
the
the
Article
sheet.
12, the UCC bill. And we actually passed the main UCC bill last year, but this was a patchwork of little things that had come up. But then it turns out that there was a little bit of a poison pill in there. And so we want to remove that poison pill to so that we have a nice, clean UCC statute. And I just lost my clerk.
Can Representative Ammon explain that a
Actually,
little
we
bit?
can vote on it because we don't need to have a roll call vote. We can do that by voice
I'll
vote.
speak to it whenever it's appropriate.
Okay. So all those in favor of reconsideration, please say aye. Those opposed? Okay. Almost unanimous. All right. So now, Representative Ammon, you can go ahead and speak to your motion.
Right, so I passed around two pieces of paper. One is amendment to 584, and it strikes a section in the original bill.
I don't have an amendment.
Okay. Oh,
I passed them that way. Maybe they're right here. Is this it?
this is them. Actually, I need one.
So there's two pieces of paper. One is
Right.
an amendment, and the other is the definition of money.
Okay. I'm going to wait till everybody gets it.
Okay, so
Okay.
I think everyone's got the two pieces of paper.
Everybody's got it, and Representative Ammon is recognized to speak to his motion.
All right, so UCC 12, there's been some controversy in the news recently about UCC Article 12. The governor of South Dakota just vetoed their entire bill. And it's based on many misconceptions about what UCC 12 does. We passed that, we passed a very near final draft of UCC 12 last year, actually. And so 584 is just a cleanup bill. It's just to make a few minor changes, mostly minor changes, to the final draft that the Uniform Law Commission produced and what we passed last year. So 584 it's a housekeeping bill, like in the truest sense. But they added one definition to the definition of money. And there's a second piece of paper here. The language in bold would be added by 584 to our statute. The language that is not in bold is already in statute. And so the amendment is to just strike this out, leave current statute, the definition of money, leave it as is, and we'll consider adding this separately, this term. So the language that would be added, unless we act, is the term includes a monetary unit of account established by an intergovernmental organization or pursuant to an agreement between two or more countries. And the use for this would be a central bank digital currency. An intergovernmental organization could be the IMF or some global organization. Pursuant to an agreement between two or more countries, we've heard that China and Russia and potentially Iran might be working on their own banking system. So that would fall under this definition. We want to be careful about introducing this into our statute without a reasoned discussion about it. So when the bill moves to the Senate, we could have it then, or we have one retained bill that is meant to address central bank digital currencies. We retain that one here in this committee. So that might be a vehicle to use to try to get this right. But so I would ask everyone to just support this amendment and make this the committee amendment, and then we can put the bill back on consent. So that's my request.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Yes, Representative Spear.
Not for nothing, but no way do I want this to be attached to that central bank currency thing. So,
You do, right. You agree with getting central bank out of this bill.
right. I would do it the way we
Good.
want to do it here.
That was the right answer. Okay. Gee, great. Okay, so Representative Ammon, second by Representative Hunt, moves ought to pass on amendment number 993.
Yep.
H.
So this is adoption of amendment.
Right.
and I've got five names for there.
Okay, yeah.
And Hunt.
Yeah, just a second. Okay, yes, Representative Herbert?
I just wanted to point out that last session, I spoke against the articles, and the vote, I think, was 150 to 170 on loss. So there is, this is not by any means a unanimous effort, because there were 150 votes that were with me. And I still am very much against.
Could you put your sound on?
Yeah, oh, sorry, your microphone, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't even notice. Pull it close to you.
So my opposition is comprehensive. In other words, I reject what we passed in the last session, and I therefore reject anything that is associated with and has the capability of disrupting our Constitution and the congressional monopoly over the money supply. It's right in the Constitution, and it's there for a reason. A monetary sovereign nation is one nation and has one currency. And there's a reason for that. You can't control the money supply if there is a private currency that has been recognized as a substitute for our dollar. And that is what all of this is about. And so I reject the concept. And I understand a lot of people are very interested in cryptocurrencies and the ecology that's there. And it's a nice shiny bauble, and it's code, and it's like cool, and that's sexy now. But currency is a thing that goes back 500, 600 years or more and has withstood a lot of ups and downs. So I'm not going to vote to compromise the money supply and the monopoly of Congress that's in the Constitution. And that's what I'm being asked to do. I'm not going to do it.
So it sounds like to me that you agree with this amendment because you think there should only be one currency for the United States government, even though you might vote against the bill in general. But you really do support this amendment because you don't like the idea of any government entity having their own digital
I know
currency.
what this is all about. It's a private currency. That
Right.
is what is wanted. And
This is a government one.
Pardon me?
Do you think it's a good idea that the federal government have its own digital currency?
And what's the dollar? Is that the dollar?
No. Do you think
Well,
it'd be
what
okay for them to create a new one?
But it is
there
based
ru-
on the dollar. It is still based on the dollar.
You think so?
It is. If you read the Federal Reserve notes, it is
Okay.
still based on the dollar. It
Gotcha.
is not a separate currency. It's
Okay.
a separate instantiation of the dollar.
Gotcha.
It is
Okay.
a private currency and it will be outside the banking system.
It is not outside the banking system, and it
Okay.
is not a private currency.
Okay. Okay. Representative
Okay,
Spear. I mean, Representative Vincent.
gonna go
Thank
in-
you,
Thank
you.
Representative Spear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would have to agree to some point, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is just my comment, that to purchase this, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is an online type of deal, correct? To purchase this currency would be online?
Can I just clarification here?
Sure, please.
So UCC Article 12 deals with digital assets. So they call them controllable electronic records. It encompasses a ton of different things. So it could be any digital token that you can trade.
Online.
It can include cryptocurrency, but it can include a whole bunch of other things.
Right.
So it's a very broad category, but it has to do with value that's represented by a digital token. And these are becoming widespread in lots of different use cases. Chuck E. Cheese issues its own money, but it's not a threat to the US dollar, right?
Right.
So, a digital token can be something simple like a token to use to operate a system online, like a video game
Right.
system. Right?
My comment is not against it. It's just that I think when you're talking about digital currency, it's worldwide. So it's not just to the United States. That's what my comment was
It
gonna
goes
be.
wherever the internet goes.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
in that case, it's true.
Yes, Representative Philo.
Just as a point of clarification, we're discussing right now whether the amendment ought to
Yes,
pass
that
because
is
we
true.
already last week ought to pass the underlying bill.
Correct.
And the sole question here is whether we agree that the underlying bill should not recognize digital currencies. Is that the question before us right now?
Government digital currency.
Yes. Thank you.
Government. Yes, government digital.
So really, all we should be debating right now is this underlying amendment.
That is true.
Thank you.
That is true. Appreciate it. Okay. Is the question clear? Ought to pass on the amendment. The clerk will call the roll.
Oops. Representative Ammon,
Yes.
Osborne, Matusik,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Host,
Yes.
Cole. Pacelli,
Yes.
Thaxton, Burrows. Whoops, Walsh, sorry.
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Herbert,
Absolutely not.
Clerk, yes. Lanza,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Calabro,
Yes.
Filio,
Yes.
Gibbs,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Siebert. Chairman Hunt.
Yes.
All right, so 19
Okay.
to 1.
Motion carries. Representative Ammon, seconded by Representative Patusek, moves ought to pass as amended. Is there any discussion on the question? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll when she's ready.
So what,
We did the reconsideration by voice vote.
that was
Now we have
reconsideration.
adopted the amendment. So now the pending motion is ought to pass as amended.
All right,
And
so I
just
need to change
we
this
didn't
right
have any other
here.
amendments on this bill.
Right, so the motion
Yeah.
would be,
Adopting
the
amendment. No, you wrote it right.
no, right, but what's this motion?
So this motion is now ought to pass
As amended, okay. Oh, boy, now I'm gonna have to get another one, but
Well, you're
that's
supposed to-
okay.
what's wrong with this one?
To do the sheet.
Oh, this is, yeah,
This
executive
was,
session. Yeah.
right,
Then
so
you
this
have
is the second
amendment,
one
you
here,
write the
right
amendment
here,
number
okay,
there.
all right, got it. And then, this is ought to pass as amended. I got it, okay. So this one is, Ammon and Patusik?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. All right, Representative Ammon,
Yes.
Osborne. Petusic.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Post.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Percelli.
Yes.
Thaxton. Walsh.
Yes.
Burrows.
Yes.
Herbert.
Absolutely not.
Clerk. Yes. Lanza.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Calabro.
Yes.
Filio.
Yes.
Gibbs.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Siebert. Chairman Hunt.
Yes.
Okay, 19 to 8.
All those in favor of placing House Bill 584 on the consent calendar, please say aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
No, you have to be unanimous to put it on the consent calendar. You really want this on the regular calendar?
Oh, I'm gonna take another shot at it, yep.
All right.
We've had it on consent last week. It was already on consent,
I'm against the entire concept.
but you didn't object last.
You're going to get up and make a speech and tell everybody to vote down this bill.
Sure. That's what should be done.
That's what you want to do. Okay, we will leave it on the regular calendar, and this will be the only commerce bill on the regular calendar. With that, we're out of exec session.
Wow.
I don't mind talking.
Chris, are you going to run a minority report?
Yeah, but how short is it supposed to be?
Short.
Short.
I had a question for
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I don't think what you're doing is fixable, so.
Okay, motion. OTP. This is the first time that we do that. We bring back a bill that was already voted on. Right, so that's the motion.
I was not in favor of the old version. The recommendation would be ITL.